Alright, well, welcome Studio Files. On today's blog post, I am talking about cameras, and I want to highlight some of the cameras we're using here in our studio. And just to remind you, the blog, studioonadime.com, is all about building an inexpensive live broadcast studio in your home. As you can see, I'm upstairs in our spare bedroom. And building it on a budget you can actually afford, something that you want to go out and find a second job so you can have the latest and greatest. You can actually build a lot of really great and cool things for a live studio very inexpensively, and we're going to talk about two of those things today, and those things are cameras. Let's get to this particular camera first. This is our headshot camera where we get our majority of our footage from. It's a Canon ZR800, the NTSC model. Now, I could have gone with a number of options, but there's something about this camera that makes it unique, especially at its price point. I purchased this camera online for $50 from, through Craigslist. So it was online, but I went and picked it up locally. You can find them anywhere between $40 and $80 if you, even on eBay. There's something this camera has when it was new, around $300 to $400, that most cameras in this price range don't have, and that is a microphone input. So right here you see the microphone in for an external 16-bit recorded microphone, and for this one I'm using an Asden, and this is also a stereo mic, and it works really well. So that's one of the most important things in the studio is the audio next to the video, and this enables me to capture audio and code it onto the tape. We'll get to the tape in a second, but there aren't a lot of cameras in the sub $400 range that are going to allow you to do that. So in the studio I'm running Canon, and I'm also running a Sony. We'll talk about the Sony in a second, but let's just go ahead and stick with the fact that for both cameras I paid less than $100. So what are some other reasons that I picked this camera? Well, we're going to talk about the composite out and also the FireWire out. So I needed a camera with FireWire out so I could run FireWire into my computer so I could capture the live show, actually also run it into the switcher and pump it out to either Ustream, live stream, or link to. And using FireWire gave me that ability. Now there are a lot of cameras on the market right now that are great cameras that are SD card compatible. The problem with those is I haven't found anything that allows you to keep a digital signal and also pump directly into the computer, because they don't have FireWire out. So you would actually basically have to take the component out or the HDMI out on the newer cameras and figure out a way to get them into your switchboard or whatever you are using, or it could be a software solution to go live. So there's a couple things that are great about the MiniDV format, which is what this camera is, and there's a couple things that are bad. The first thing is MiniDV is cheap. So buying a MiniDV tape and sticking it in there doesn't cost you a lot of money. Using the same tape over and over, you can get 3 or 4 times out of it. These probably have 10 times on them. They're not mission critical, so I really don't mind. I don't feel like putting a new tape in every time. The good thing is they're inexpensive, and you can get an hour to an hour and a half on a tape at full resolution. The bad thing is that hour and and a half is a real-time capturing process. So you can capture from the cameras and from the switchboards or from the studio or from the software solutions in real time. But if something fails or you drop frames or something and you have to go back to the masters, which are actually on the tape, you're looking at a process of, depending on how many cameras you have, say I have 2 cameras and I've captured an hour each, well, I've got an extra 2 hours added on my post time, and that can be fairly inefficient. So that's something to take in consideration. On the other hand, you have that tape in hand, it's not going to be corrupt, it's going to be easy to capture, and it's pretty darn dependable. I haven't worked with the SD cams a lot, so I couldn't tell you if the files become corrupt or even if you have to convert them. I know Final Cut's pretty picky about some of the camera formats that come out on SD card, and you go through a process of conversion anyway, which eats just as much time as capturing the tape itself. And it's actually a little bit more of a hassle. So things to consider definitely. I'm not saying this is the best solution, but this is the way we do it, and it seems to work really well for us. Okay, so that's the Canon ZR800 MiniDV NTSC. Like I said, the things I loved about it were the microphone and the MiniDV format with the FireWire out and the component out, or sorry, and the composite out, as well as you can record on the camera through those same channels. So let's go visit the Sony up here, which is our we call it our craft cam. It's basically the overhead cam that shows the craft projects as we film them. We film a craft project show here. So now I'm going to introduce you to our other camera in the family, and this is the Sony. We call it our craft cam because it shoots all of our crafting footage down here on the craft table when it's not a complete disaster like it is today. But you know, bear with me. We're doing some upgrades to the studio, so everything's kind of laying everywhere. This is a sub $300 camera. I originally bought it just to capture DV tapes from because I didn't want to chew up the heads on my more expensive cameras. It turned out to be one of my most reliable cameras. I love this little thing. It works all the time. You can probably buy it on Craigslist now for less than 50 bucks or 60 bucks. Cons about this guy is that it doesn't have an external microphone input. So you're stuck with the onboard microphone, which isn't bad, but it's not great. I would never use it for a studio production. This being a MiniDV device as well, it has moving parts in it, like the tape heads. You definitely hear that with the internal microphone, especially in a quiet studio. So that's something to take in consideration. I never use the audio from this unless something goes horribly awry with the other audio through the other two systems that I run, and I'll talk about that later. However, this has a lot of manual control, manual exposure, manual focus, manual white balance. Great little camera, and this is a, let's see if we can get the model number on this. I haven't looked at it in so long. This is a DCR HC28, and it as well is, like I said, MiniDV. Great little camera for the purpose. It's FireWire. I run a 20 or I think a 15-foot FireWire cable, which they say 14 feature max, but basically the FireWire cable goes all the way back to the switchboard and gives me the opportunity to have a true digital signal going into a computer if I want to capture it, or into the switchboard and then out to the computer. But I get to keep the digital stream the entire time, which keeps the quality consistent. Now these are both standard definition quality cameras, and being so, they are very affordable and you're not going to drop a ton of money. That's a great thing about HD, is it dropped all the costs of the standard definition cameras and really allows the budget studio file to go out there and build their studio on really not too much money. So these are the two cameras I'm using. If you have any questions about them, please put something in the comments on the blog or even on the YouTube videos, and I'll answer what I can. And most importantly, just have fun. Go out and find something. Don't spend a ton of money. And do remember, if you decide to go the HD route and the SD cards, you're looking at significantly larger files. It's going to add a lot of time to your post. And that may or may not be for you. For us, having a really great SD signal works just fine, especially on YouTube. The quality is really high. The nice thing is we syndicate through Roku and all that stuff, and it still looks really good. So we're pretty happy with the overall results, and we haven't dropped a lot of money in the process. Again, go to studioonadime.com and check us out for more information.